Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. And just before I was about to go live, and there's a chance that this may happen, there are tornado sirens in the background. So if that happens and the audio is just really horrible, we'll just have to cancel it. But for now, the tornado watch and warnings have moved off and such. But yeah, it's a real thing. Oh man, you are absolutely correct there. You are absolutely correct there. That today we are going to talk about science fiction, and again, I love science fiction medium. It is like the ultimate what if. Given a certain technology, what if? How would society change? What kinds of behaviors would we have? How would it change? How would you feel, or how would you use this technology if it was in the future? So, yes, absolutely. And this is a Bruce Willis movie, and like I said before, this is not necessarily about the best science fiction. It's about some of the best and most original premises, even if the executions aren't bad. And the reason for that is most people haven't seen these things or have completely forgotten them, and we can use that for our own science fiction tabletop experiences. Yeah. Oh, I'm actually going to do that. Asked, could I offer a synopsis? Absolutely, I'm going to do that. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, okay. First I'll put up the comment. Dead Man says, I have found a use for AI systems, such as writing poems, songs, and stories in whatever setting you desire. I posted too a poem and a story written by Google Gemini in the comments under the Rebel Moon video. Sweet. Drew's like, I have watched it and remember it. You're from the very few who've seen Surrogates. And I did Dead Man, the comment that you posted, I got it. So the system's actually working. So let me give you a synopsis. At least this is from a paragraph from Wikipedia, and about the premise of this science fiction movie. And there's plenty of these, like straight to DVD. This is back in the day when DVDs were a big thing. Straight to streaming sci-fi concepts, and this just happens to be one of them. Let me know if you can hear the tornado warning sirens going off in the background. Yes, I've kept track on my phone and on television about the weather. It has moved to the east from where I'm living right now, but they still enable those sirens. Okay, here we go. In the future, widespread use of remotely controlled androids called surrogates enables everyone to live in idealized forms from the safety of their home. Compared to their surrogates, the human operators are depicted as slovenly and homebound. Protected from harm, a surrogate's operator feels no pain when their surrogate is damaged, and they can make their surrogate perform acrobatics beyond human capability. In Boston, FBI agent Tom Greer has been estranged from his wife, Maggie, since their son's death in a car crash several years before. He never sees her outside of her surrogate, and she criticizes his desire to interact via their real bodies. And so at the visuals in the beginning of Surrogates, you see a lot of people who look, dare I say, like models, very, very beautiful, perfect skin, maybe a little bit too perfect, and People have these like plastic like smiles on their faces, and there are shitloads like, yay, obscure films rip off. Exactly. Oh man. And one of the features you notice is that everyone, especially with the camera work a little bit, uh, it people are just a little bit taller than normal. They're standing straighter than normal, and you realize that, and of course, and part of the opening of the movie is they explain that this scientist created this surrogates technology, so people are basically asleep or uh, incapacitated inside of like a chamber, like a stasis chamber, and they're plugged into a system, and they remotely operate their surrogates. So the humans who have let themselves go, and may not consider themselves to be the most beautiful or handsome or athletic, operate these surrogates, and they even have stores that you can get off the rack surrogates and things of that nature. Drew says, I probably remember it since I suffer, aside from my depression from dysphoria, not gendered like trans people do, but do feel in general at home and do not feel in general at home in my body. Oh, that's sorry about that. And very much this movie. So there are a number of concepts that were brought up in Surrogates, and of course we have our main character, Bruce Willis, and this was a period of time. This I feel was made before his the onset of his, how do you pronounce it? It's mental affliction, aphasia. I can't remember how to pronounce it. Aphasia. So it was before that time, but it's a small budget movie. You could tell it was done on a back lot. I've been on that back lot before, so yeah, it's a back lot movie, and you can really tell that it is. And even the way it's filmed, the color grading and such is a little bit too. It's too slick. It's too bright for what could have been in the hands of maybe more money and better cinematographers. Maybe grayscale it back a little bit. Dialogue's kind of wonky, but it does bring up a lot of issues and some of the concepts, and that's what we're going to steal today. So Surrogates is a technology that allows people to stay at home, lay into basically a stasis-like chamber, and remotely operate an android body with an appearance that looks like them, but their idealized self. And of course, they don't feel any pain because they are operating an android robot body. Bruce Willis in the flick, can jump really far. At one point, his arm gets ripped off, but it's just, hydraulics and fluids and sparks and things like that. And he's still able to like rip a car door off or something, or flip a car over or whatever. And his personal plight, of course, is reflected in the technology, in that both him and his wife are in stasis chambers in separate rooms operating their surrogates, and they are dealing with the trauma of losing a child, but they can't connect with each other because they are a step away from true human interaction, because they're operating these bodies. Ideal for negotiating the perils of meat space. Maybe, I don't know. You get the impression that because people are a step away from certain interactions, that they're able to take more chances. Much like people making threats and acting in a way as being keyboard warriors and keyboard flame wars, that they're a step away from, because they would never do or say those things if they were face to face with someone. And the same thing is happening in Surrogates. Also, there is a how do I say this? There's a false. Everyone is putting on a false front for everyone else. So, like, his wife goes to work, and she goes to what is essentially like a hairdresser for other surrogates, and of course the surrogates are like artificial, so you could have special types of artificial hair and nails and things like that. There's a whole industry of people, and no one gets to see, because they're home in these stasis chambers. People don't get to see what they really look like or even act like. Yeah, virtual android fight club. Hell yeah. Oh, absolutely. And there's an underground of people who live in the worst parts of the city, basically living in a trash dump, and they are people who reject the idea of the surrogacy and this surrogate android operating program. You also realize that there are individuals that have basically spent you're never told how much this costs, but you get the impression that it's like a subscription service, and most people live in have allowed themselves, their body and their physical space, to go into squalor just to operate a surrogate to appear and that's in track. Yeah, very much so. So of course the plot, spoilers for people who haven't seen it, because there really isn't a need to see it. 99.9% of the population that operates a surrogate that is again an idealized form of themselves. You get they don't explain this, but you get the impression that you really need to operate a surrogate that looks and acts and feels like yourself. So when you look into if you're operating a surrogate and you look in the mirror, yes, you may look with great skin and a correct posture and a perfectly coiffed hair, but it's you. And one of the main plots in the story is that the other than Bruce Willis in his personal life, is that there are these crimes happening, and of course those crimes, especially sabotage crimes, are being blamed on the gnats in the trash, right? I love that. And those gnats in the trash are like they're almost it's like an underground railroad of sorts, in the sense that some people really don't want to be in the surrogacy system, but they're operating in it because everybody else is, and these outsiders that are living in the trash dumps are like, no, you could come with us. And so there is a little bit of like, you get this idea that they're going around maybe rescuing people, or operating in the fringes and maybe trying to communicate with people who don't want to be part of this. And that's one of the things I love about, and I think is undersold about science fiction and high technology, is that there's often this idea that everyone has accepted the technology and we're just moving forward. There are many people who really don't want to be part of the system, but they're forced to. Today, like filling out a job application, it requires you to get online and do all the things online, when back in my day, when I was an old man, well, still an old man and getting older, filling out a job application meant going in and speaking to someone directly first off. Whereas today, we have electronic systems and digital systems and online and cloud systems that use maybe AI systems to weed out the unwanted job applicants, to get down to the ones that they're looking for, when they might lose out on someone who wants to walk in the front door and say hello and might be their best candidate, but doesn't fit the mold. And so we have our outsiders, which I like, because very, very upfront, we realize that our police officer, our main character, is already has he's predisposed to not liking these people. And you realize that they aren't saboteurs, they aren't terrorists or anything. They're just trying to survive, and they don't want to be bothered by it actually bothers them that other people operate these remote body surrogates, because it's easy to hide one's emotions by unplugging for small amounts of time from the surrogate, who just gets their plastic face, and there's no real human interaction. Now, of course, it's an opinionated movie, so the idea behind it is that we should be social creatures. We should look each other in the face. We should have we should be able to see the micro not aggressions, the micro features of like 80% of communication is through the face and body, through unspoken words, and you miss that in operating the surrogates, much like we miss it in social media, right? So there are times sometimes where I have to, correct people and saying like, you may read something that someone texted you or posted or whatever, but you don't know the tone. Were they being sarcastic? Were they being serious? Were they misspeaking or something like that? Micro expressions. Thank you very much. I was like microaggressions. No, micro expressions. Yeah, burner accounts on Facebook will have to do until the real surrogates come out. Yeah, exactly. So, a big twist, I want to call it a twist for those who are not familiar with science fiction, that happens in the movie is that the creator of the program of this system of surrogates actually is working with the rebellious group to take down the system. This very brilliant individual realizes this isn't working. This is actually tearing society apart. And yeah, like microaggressions, or like Dead Man says, or micro actions. And a lot of that is about like physical things. Maybe someone does something with their hands or their eyes. I do this often when I'm thinking. I look up into the sides to try to get my mind centered, because I'm trying to create some audio content, so I have to keep speaking so someone hears things, but I'm also thinking about the next thing I'm going to say. So that happens as well. And when people do that, we can tell, are they really thinking about something? Are they ignoring what we're saying? Have they just said something and misspoke, and then we just wait for them to correct themselves, rather than just getting really upset at the very first thing that someone says? There are all these kind of things. Shai says, hopefully a real surrogate will be too expensive for my Facebook stalker to afford. You never know, right? Like, they don't really explain how expensive this is, but you get the impression that it is. I'm assuming that it is somewhere between buying an automobile and a house. The few people that have, like, where you get to see their real bodies in their homes, it's like the people who pass out playing video games, right? Like you almost think that they would have like a colostomy bag plugged into themselves, and they only shut down their surrogates because surrogates do have to have power to them. Sometimes they do suffer some minor damages just because of accidents, and they unfortunately for themselves have to get up and go to the bathroom and get something to eat, and that there's like a bit of a like Drew, like you're mentioning, like a little bit of a body dysmorphia. Now, the other thing that's happening with the creator of these surrogates, you find out that the creator is operating surrogates that look nothing like himself. As a matter of fact, and I don't remember the actor's name, he's an older Caucasian gentleman in a wheelchair, but he's operating one that looks like Ving Rhames. Big black dude, very charismatic, organizing the non-surrogates, and he's a surrogate embedded in the group of gnats that live in the trash heap. So you're just like, what? And then of course he's operating like women and children and stuff. So he's got access to all these other surrogates, and it opens up like, oh shoot, people didn't think that they could operate and hide as other people's surrogates. And then in the movie, we have a character take out an ally and then operates the surrogate and is working against our main character. But they are operating a body that everyone else finds familiar and has access to police records and things like that. And so what I love about stealing this, using for science fiction, is yay, the player characters are like, cool, I get to maybe remote operate a remote operate a physical body that may look like me but is stronger, faster, quicker. And then the first thing that's going to come up is a player's going to say, well, can I operate one that doesn't even look like me? I can go underground or infiltrate someplace. I could be a spy of some sort. And the quick, easy answer would be, of course. But then our antagonists, our NPCs, are all doing the same thing, and this adds a very an excellent conundrum, capital C conundrum, to using this in a tabletop role playing game, because even if the players find that our bad guys um, look and are operating surrogates and look exactly like themselves, you may not know where their real physical bodies are. And if you take a blaster bolt and blow away their mechanical head, they could wake up and operate yet another one and get back into the fray in some form. Demian says the creator of the surrogates was named Cantor, which a little on the nose, right? But we've seen this happen before, where one or more of our main characters has a name that basically spells out what they are, and it sounds like candor, like wanting to be honest, to express one's self in a fully honest way. And I thought it was really cool. I thought it was really cool to have the leadership of the rebellion faction of non-surrogates to be a surrogate himself. I thought that was kind of cool. It did take me back, and I was like, yeah, that's a good thing. Okay, cool. Of course, our main character being in a wheelchair and then operating a body that isn't in a wheelchair, it brings up the fact that despite the fact that the technology allows people to do that, there's an assumption of truth that the technology already tells us doesn't have to be true. So an example would be, it's like, okay, here's an example. All of us have cell phones that are have all human knowledge in them, and it is an audio and visual device. Yet people do things, and it don't. Despite the fact that we could turn our phone on and take pictures and record things, how many people have been caught doing bad things, assuming no one else has access to the exact same technology, right? Sometimes people tell on themselves. They're pretty idiotic, and they'll tell on themselves with their own devices, thinking that no one else is going to record you, even though you're recording everything else. So that's an example. And in this movie, The Surrogates, I think some of the people aren't too bright. It's like you're operating surrogate, and so is everyone else. The same ideas you have are the ideas everyone else has. Now there was a weird thing where they have these surrogate parties. So they're operating their androids, and they're using electrical stimulus devices to stimulate their pleasure centers, like an addiction, into the androids. And of course, our main character is looking at his wife, and his wife's partying with these other people. And because the surrogates are a step away, there is this idea that there's a behavior that you can get away with doing things that break social norms because, well, it's you, but it's not really you. Basically, thank you very much. I was just about to say that, thank you very much for that. Surrogate Swingers Club. Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of debauchery going on because, well, it's not really you. I mean, it's basically a rubber, replacement of you. So, okay, YouTube, please be kind to me. Is it really someone are you really cheating? Are you really having, penetrative activities or not? If it's just with a bunch of remote control robots, but it really is you. Yeah, let your virtual degeneracy unfurl. Exactly. Yeah. Oh. Anyway, mind you, the movie doesn't go too deep into it, but you get the idea. You go, another thing that's really cool that to take away from this idea with the surrogates and such is that very much you could have agents, adversaries, enemies, whatever, NPCs that aren't very they aren't safe with their bodies and their actions. So an enemy might be driving in a truck and the PCs jump on the truck and the enemy's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just drive off a cliff. I'm going to take this and drive into the lake and just drown us all, or things like that. I'm going to take a bomb and just detonate it so that all of our, bodies are destroyed. And it may be a little bit of a, dare I say, like a Groundhog Day effect. And I don't mean time keeps happening the same way over and over again, but it may be the players trying to get closer and closer to uncovering or finding the real physical biological body of the enemy. And every time they get a step closer, boom, their bodies get destroyed. The PCs are like, oh, we gotta go. Now I gotta unplug and plug into another surrogate just to go back and have to navigate back through this, the battlefield or something like that. Also, for example, our main character suffers from a form of like agoraphobia when he finally wakes up in his real biological body and decides to go outside, and is overwhelmed by the smells and the scents and the music and all this kind of stuff. And you come to find out that a huge majority of the population is suffering from this. So many of the people who are basically introspective, they are not expressionists, they're more internal, are able to express themselves in the surrogates, but then in real life, they really don't want to go outside and they really don't want to socialize, and and this is a way for them to get around it. But it also means that they've never dealt with the social structures of getting out of their skin and moving out of their homes and navigating in a social way. And I saw that, dead man. Yeah, and also it's an easy way for people to avoid to even have to learn how to deal with people one-on-one, face-to-face. And so there is a safety behind people's behaviors. They get to say and do things that they never normally would do in a meet space with each other. And there, player characters that go to a hab that's like where surrogates are used very much for all kinds of jobs and interactions and such, might find that the behaviors of people are a little bit there's a lot of friction involved because there's safety in the friction. Yeah, NPCs that aren't safe with their actions, that's like so 2024. Yeah. Trey says, oh yeah, what year does this take place in anyway? Let's see if it wow. You say it's based on a 2005-2006 comic book series known as The Surrogates. It doesn't really tell you. It's one of those near future, and because it's a speculative fiction story, we don't see other technologies that have advanced that far, right? It's what if this technology existed, what would life be like? So we don't get things like starships and AI and plug-in virtual systems and all. We don't get a lot of that. Yeah, we don't get a lot of that. I'm seeing if there's anything else in here that oh, excuse me. Critical response. People didn't really like it. Sorry. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia article, some of the little details in the bottom. Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 37%. The website's critical consensus reads, though it sports a slick look and feel, Surrogates fails to capitalize on a promising premise, relying instead on mindless action and a poor script. And that's exactly right. And I would agree with it. And I think the idea that that if we just start with people living their optimal lives, we may get some strange actions and reactions. Maybe the player characters, your player characters in your story, are trying to talk people off the ledge, as it were, just to get their attention. And then once they get their attention, will our player characters use surrogates, or will they be in their meat bodies? And not that any of the people in the surrogates would hate them, but there might be some discrepancies in a good way between the power levels of our meat body player characters and our androcized surrogates of our NPCs. I mean, how many times do player characters arrive somewhere and your average NPC is stronger, faster, quicker, tougher than they are, that feels no pain? That's pretty rare. So it would be pretty interesting to see how the player characters navigate this. And will they start using surrogates, and how will they use them? If a player character's surrogates gets destroyed, where do they get a new one? And also, is there psychological damage, some kind of loss that happens every time a player, like, I'm going to stick my arm into the gears and let it get churned up? I mean, is that a thing that someone could do who's brand new operating surrogate? Or will it require expending some kind of mental resource of willpower or something that allows one to commit acts that might lead to their harm or death, even though they're operating like an outside device? Shai says, mindless action? Such a waste of a good concept. Reminds me of Inception. Yeah, why do they have to turn it into a shoot 'em up? Yeah, when you have a dreamscape, I'm with you in Inception. I think there was a little bit of a lost opportunity to flip things around in a dreamscape when it's like, yay, we turned the city upside down, and then it turned into a shoot 'em up spy flick, right? I agree with you, absolutely. And yes, this flick, Surrogates, did turn into a shoot 'em up, and it's like, oh, and it does bring up a number of strange things. Like, if you operate in a surrogate that's not your body, does the body change how you feel? And if you operate a surrogate and someone thinks that you're a real or biological person, are you lying to them? Are you being deceitful? Today, we know that there are things where we can hide our bodies. We have wigs and we have filters you can put on, and makeup, and lifting shoes, and body contouring things. And the more you add onto your body, whether you're putting in contact lenses, and you have plastic surgery and whatnot, and at a certain point, someone could make the argument, is it just you, just a better you? Or have you used so many artificial methods to modify yourself that even you act one step away from the real person that is you? Sometimes we can feel this when very famous people, influencers, musicians, actors, sports players, entertainers, people that are very famous, put on a persona, and you can't really tell the difference between the persona and the real them. I'll say a name. I kind of feel that way with, like, Tom Cruise, that his real self is a persona that he's created to be his real self. Comes across a little bit like it's not really him, but he's so good at it that it really is him, kind of thing. And then that brings across the idea, like, well, wait a minute, if the fake them is the real them, then is there really a real them in the first place? Yeah. Shitlord says, it is very good that Obsidian has checks and balances to prevent shoot 'em up, de-evolution, to devolve in the shoot 'em ups and stuff, right? Because there is a cost to do the spray the chrome, witness me, and just sacrifice your body because you can't die. There is a cost to it within the game system. It's more mental, but the mental cost is exactly the physical cost, so it kind of works itself out, right? It's his body, Thaden's in control. Yeah, the Scientology and stuff. Yeah. Drew says, that is why I think Tenet is better than Inception, not just in the shoot 'em up there fitting, but the character drama was also more compelling. I liked Tenet. I know it was confusing, but I liked Tenet. I also appreciated the idea that the cinematography, that things were done in camera, with as little CGI as they could do, which I really appreciated. Also, another thing in Surrogates that we could play with of course, is, again, if you are operating a remote body that is not yours, will you take on their actions and reactions? So if you're a man in a woman's body, will you start operating that way or not? And then what if other people start acting towards you, and now you're lying to them, but they start establishing real relationships with you, much like catfishing is done in a modern sense, right? You start having a relationship with the false avatar of someone else, although a case could be made that a society that uses this kind of technology, maybe the fake surrogates, the avatars of someone, is as real as the real thing. So we may not see, much like video game avatars, right? We don't know what the physical body of that person looks like, but there are still fans of that individual, and they think of them as a different person when they are online. Same thing could be here for the surrogates. Like, no, I don't really even need to see your real, meat body, because I'm interested only in your surrogate body, even if it's operated by someone else. Which brings up other movies like Gamer is a movie with an excellent premise in it, and there's another one similar to it as well. Can't think of the name of it, but yeah, Gamer is a really good one, where there's a penal system where your mind is supplanted in your body, and other people get to rent out your biological body to do things with it. And they have a video game style game show, death and destruction game show, where people get to die, but there's this young kid who's like an excellent gamer who ends up using our main character's body in these real life war games and stuff. So the police can instantly figure out it's you when you commit crimes in your surrogate body. Maybe not, and that's one of the issues, right? So if someone's biological body is killed, how do you find out who did it? And is there a way to trace it back to the person? And then, of course, the police have access to a network of people who are using surrogates. But then the idea is, well, what if someone breaks into your home or uses a hacking signal and operates your surrogate? Do you get blamed because it's your surrogate? It's that kind of thing. So, yeah. Is it, if someone kills someone else's surrogate, is it just property damage? Or, does the idea of murder become supplanted with basically a nuisance crime, property damage? You get fined because you destroyed that person's body, and you just shrug and go, well, I got cash, I'll just pay for it and get them another body, even though you committed a heinous crime or something. Juice is now thinking about Tenet. I feel like using objects with reverse entropy in Obsidian Star create in the future with some data core. Yes, yeah, that would be a thing that's possible, absolutely possible in Obsidian Star, using a data core to create a reverse entropic device or weapon or vehicle or something, which would be very strange. But I like it. I like the idea of things like going backwards, which would be very strange. Like, how would you unshoot someone or undestroy a thing or whatever? Tenet is very freaky, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah. Someone did an analysis of Tenet and said that Tenet happens, the entire movie happens in one day, and that towards the mid-end point of the movie, when our main character, the protagonist, because we never know his name, starts going in reverse, that the mission starts going in reverse back to the beginning of the movie, and there's evidence that the nuclear bomb that goes off that starts the movie happens at the beginning of the movie or something like that. It's something weird. Yeah, there might be some Benjamin buttoning. Yeah, especially if like some some adversary has access to like this like reverse technology or whatever, maybe finding and stealing that data core to get it with their surrogates and whatnot. I can imagine a Black Ops team or a criminal organization using surrogates as their main form of modus operandi. Like maybe they arrive on a hab on Mars and they are all in a sealed robocraft of 12 people, but they're operating 12 other surrogates inside of the hab, the sealed dome hab on Mars, doing all kinds of damage. And then when the authorities get there, they just go, ha 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 ha. And they open up their jackets, they press a button, boom, their surrogates destroyed. They wake up in their, organic bio bodies, 3 clicks away from the hab and just operate the Land Rover to a distant destination. And the players might be like, oh, it's them again. They're known for doing this thing. We need to capture one of the surrogates before they destroy themselves, or we need to keep them busy so we can trace their radio signals, or they're using line of sight scrambled thing like communications. I know why we can't track it, because they're using line of sight laser technology or something like that. And then, so there are ways to get around it, which I love. What if a player character has an NPC that to this day, they never knew that the NPC they have an intimacy with has been a surrogate this entire time? Now, they don't explain in the movie, like, are they plastic? Like, if you touch them and feel them, does it feel real? Because internally, you do get the idea that the people that are piloting them aren't as emotionally and physically connected. It's not a one-to-one. So when you prick their skin, they don't feel it, or don't feel it as much, or they may feel it, but it's just dull, and that all the feelings have been dulled out. Much like our main character in the movie finally confronts his wife in or meat body to meat body, organic to organic, and they finally get to resolve the issue about having a child that passed away. They don't explain what happens with children in this world as well. As a matter of fact, a lot of sci-fi flicks do not deal with the child issue when it comes to some of these technologies, and neither does this movie. They don't even hint about it, which I think would be pretty interesting. Like, do the kids grow up around artificial surrogates? Like, is there an age limit or something? Drew says it's about 2 weeks, but yes, the day the movie starts is also the day it ends on. I remember hearing from someone that an analysis of Tenet, that it starts and ends on the exact same day. That I was like, really? And then I realized, oh yeah. It also, we'll put Tenet on the list. We will put Tenet. Side note, the game, this tabletop role-playing Obsidian Star, does have technology that breaks the rules, and that's where the data cores come in. But I wanted the data cores to be highly unique, almost like one and done kind of things. Now, mind you, storytelling, could you have an adversary that has Benjamin Buttoned himself, and they have been using this technology over days, weeks, months, and years? Yes. For storytelling purposes, yes. Could we have an adversary that's using like a wormhole or something like that? Yeah. But the idea, the meta idea behind it is, this isn't widespread. No one's been able to get it to be widespread. It's a little bit unreliable, or very unreliable, and things like that. Anon says, it's the year 2086 and humanity has forgotten where babies come from. They forgot. Humans keep looking at themselves. We have plenty of holes. Where do things come out of the holes? And they're like, well, we've got one common hole. How's your hole? Family. How's your hole? Family. Dulled out feelings sounds great to me. ADHD and hypersensitivity is annoying as hell. Again, where do I sign up for a surrogate? Well, we come with the technology isn't bad, or there's neither good nor badness, nor evil or anything like that with technology. Maybe this surrogate system is perfectly designed to have a community of people live out their best lives, and it gets stolen and permutated. So maybe there is a utopian society using this surrogacy system, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, no, we're using it perfectly well." But some other faction is going like, "Yeah, they we know this exists, but they've perfected it. We're going to steal it and use it for our own ill-gotten gains and things like that." For example, someone could very much be operating a surrogate as a politician, and no one knows this, and someone realizes like, "Oh, we found out that you're operating a surrogate," and the politician is like, "Please don't let anyone know." Yeah, since in 62 years, not too far-fetched. Exactly, right? Um, so yes, and no more tornado sirens, thank goodness. Um, yeah, I thought I would hear some more, but it has moved off to the east. Also, um, maybe the player characters may end up having to bring this technology to a community that has suffered, and they need this technology. Maybe there are physical limitations biologically with people, maybe suffering from some kind of diseases, some physical afflictions that this would help them out. Maybe there are mental afflictions, again, that this technology would help them with, and the player characters might be conduits for such a thing. So yeah. Now, I'm not going to take too much more of your time. I do have to get ready, and I often very much go over when I do these live broadcasts. So I want to make sure that I don't do that. So we'll be ending pretty soon. Um, a few more things I would say are, how widespread would you have this technology? The movie, because of the low budget, they they you don't get to see all of society, but at the end of the movie, they make it seem like this thing has spread across the world, which is really bizarre, because you see like tens of thousands of people coming out of their homes who are operating these like android surrogates and whatnot. So you're never really sure how widespread it is. And within this tabletop game, Obsidian Star, my feeling is, if you just take a habitat or a moon, or or a habitat on a planetary place like the moon, Terra, Mars, someplace like that, or a spinning hab or whatever, a dome city as a possibility, you can kind of introduce this and not have to rejigger your entire society, right? Like, this could be, yes, yeah, Lords, I am trying to get out of here a little bit earlier. Also, it's a little gift to you guys, so I don't dominate the hell of everything going on as well. So I don't want to do that. But yeah, so all the what ifs, I love the technology of what ifs. Heck, we could even have a bad guy that has, how do I say this? They have forced some way, like kidnapped people, and the only way the kidnappees can operate is in a surrogate, and our big bad evil guys are like, you must do this for us in your android bodies so that you can reacquire your physical bio body. So they may not even know where their biological bodies are stored, but they have to perform certain duties in order to get their bodies back. And the threat could be against themselves or their family and friends. Like, no, where you are and your family and friends, they're on ice as well. You must do this thing, go into a high security place or something like that as a surrogate to get inside, to get us some kind of deep, hidden data, find a location of a data core, or steal the data core itself to get it back to us, so that you can do that. Shitlord says, we'll get a twofer to make up for this, won't we? Yeah, maybe get a twofer. Who knows? Yeah, I'm gonna have to write this down. Gamer, let's see, gamer and tenant and a bunch of other stuff. Shai says, "Are you actually conscious while you're controlling your surrogate?" Uh, the simple answer is yes? Question mark. So the they make it seem like your consciousness. They don't delineate whether your consciousness has actually left the your bio body to get into the mech body. They make it seem more of a remote control, so that once the surrogate is down, the person just opens up their eyes. Like there's no like psychic backlash kind of thing. So it doesn't go into it. Now making the distinction between the two, like, is the person literally in a coma and their consciousness is in the android body, is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is no, this android body is remote controlled, and while maybe dice wise mechanically there might not be a difference. Well, no, if your consciousness is literally in the artificial body, maybe there could be a separation, like a severing of the silver cord kind of thing. But they don't go into that, or they don't develop it. Basically, once one person's body is destroyed, they wake up. And I feel like that allows people to become far more less safe, because it's easy, because you could just operate a new body. Now, for the most part, most people don't destroy their bodies because they're probably expensive. And even our main character, Bruce Willis, who plays our main character, goes into one of these locations where they have like it's like a store, and they're like wrapped in plastic and such, and the salesman's trying to sell him a body, which even in the movie they really don't tell you how to explain it. 99% of people are operating androids that look like themselves, but our main character goes into a store with a bunch of bodies that look like other people. So it gives you the impression that yes, your idealized self may not look like yourself at all, not your gender, not your height, not your race, not your voice, not all these things, but they don't show your average citizen doing that thing. So they kind of opened up a question and they didn't answer the question. Yeah, it's open season on your meat body while you're in your surrogate. Yes. As a matter of fact, we do have they do show a couple of scenes in the movie where a surrogate does break into a place where there is someone's meat body there. Also, it would be kind of strange for a player character to pilot the surrogate and stand and defend their meat body against an enemy. And so the player character's meat body is their organic body is asleep, but they can keep operating different mechanical bodies to stop the bad guy, while the body might be under threat, like maybe the building's on fire, it's about to collapse, or something like that. Or our main bad guy is going like, they keep shooting at your mechanical body, and then they get the idea, oh, I'm gonna do an aimed shot at your organic body, and then that player character is like, okay, I'm gonna stand in front of my own body to stop the attack or something, or tackle the bad guy with a baseball bat or something. So you can double team them? No, not at you. In the concept of the movie, you can't operate both at the exact same time. You're either asleep and remotely operating the body, or you're awake and the body falls down or freezes in place. So, for example, Bruce Willis confronts his wife, who is in the hairdresser, the beautician's place, and when he brings up certain hard to difficult topics, she shuts down, literally shuts down. So her eyes go blank, and she just goes in there, and he's just like rolling his eyes like, damn, I just want to have a conversation with you. And you see her wake up back at home, and she kind of like curls off to her side because she doesn't want to have the conversation. And so there is a parallel socially and psychologically, right? Like like people literally shutting down and going into themselves and not letting people see their true selves because they put on a face to confront society and such. So there is quite a bit of that as well. So guys, thank you so much for letting me delve into Surrogates. Listen, if you watch the movie, you might not get the hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours back, but it actually has some really great premises. It just doesn't delve too deeply in them, and sometimes of course, if they did that, the movie would be very psychological. There wouldn't really be much action at all. But I like the idea of the movie, not just the physical part of the being a badass, but the psychological part of being able to hide your emotions and not confronting, trauma and such that happens in the movie. And the idea that they do show some of the, I guess you call them, tertiary characters, the NPCs in the movie, and showing some of them, like, what was it, Boris Kojo, who, what is he, 6.5 feet tall and supposed to be this handsome, gorgeous dude, but then you end up getting to see him at home, and he's just like, he's Mr. Scrawny, dirty, hasn't washed in a while and stuff, and it's pretty awesome because, of course, he's the captain of the police force, and of course, everyone on the police force is like young-ish, beautiful-ish, and stuff. Pretty interesting, and it also would be pretty cool for players to have. How do they navigate a place where everyone is just surface function? Everyone is just there are no deep people because it's all surface level. They're all smiling. It's Barbie town, right? It's just no, hi, how are you? No, well, how are you? And the PCs are like, no, we need to find out we need to know the real answer. And of course, every time they confront someone that maybe if they get a little bit too deep, the person shuts down. Yeah, it's only an hour and a half. Yeah, well, only. When you put the word only, it doesn't make it feel that bad. Shai says, Goody sounds like worth watching, even if it only got 37% on Rotten Tomatoes. It'll be nice to see Bruce Willis in his sunset years. Yes. Yeah, I mean, is it prime Bruce Willis? Not really. Not really. But was it before the aphasia? Yeah, it was. It was. This is when during the period of time when Bruce Willis is only playing characters that are Bruce Willis, and this happens to be one of those characters. Yeah, thank you, Dead Man. Like, yeah, it's only an hour and a half. Listen, I know even you, Dead Man, you're a little too smart for this kind of stuff. I know you may have seen it, and if you haven't, you don't have to. But yeah, it like I said, like Anon says, so basically social media. Yep. Watch it with friends and get the laugh. Yep. Laugh together by watching it, seeing how ridiculous it is. But also, honestly, if I have to be honest about the movie, if you have people who are brilliant and you like to have deep discussions, I think it could bring up some pretty deep discussions when something is revealed and you go, oh, and talk about that plot point and go, man, what if people could blah 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 blah. Yeah, it's basically social media in a physical form. They flame war you, and then when you go to confront them, they just shut down. Yes, that's exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. Writ large, very much so. Maybe it was predicting a social media firestorm that hadn't come yet, which is also good. Yeah, Bruce Willis was no dummy. Oh, I agree. He is an award-winning actor that people fail to realize. He did some awesome stuff like Breakfast of Champions. I didn't know that. He did a bunch of thriller movies. A noir character who confronts a femme fatale kind of thing. He did a bunch of those as well early on. He was the everyman, with the slightly receding hairline, the not quite six pack and stuff like that. Yeah, he epitomized the everyman, and I miss everyman movies where, like, the Die Hard series. eventually Die Hard, he stopped playing John McClane and started playing Bruce Willis as a character in the later movies. But like 1 and 2, a bit of 3, pretty good movies, pretty good everyman movies. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Tomorrow we get to do Total Recall. I'm glad I found the thumbnail pic of the end of the movie. So tomorrow, yeah, we're gonna do that tomorrow. And please take a look at that thumbnail. I like it. Yeah, Death Becomes Her. That was a good out of character role he did. Yeah, Death Becomes Her. Yeah, and Anon said could make an entire game based on the Bruce Willis cinematic universe. That would be awesome. Different character classes of a Bruce Willis cinematic universe. Someone did that with Morgan Freeman, but you could do a Bruce Willis version of that. Look it up. Let me see. RPG Morgan Freeman. Let's see if I can find it. There's something like that. Summoning Morgan Freeman. Summoning Morgan Freeman is a game about finding the answers to life's deepest nonsensical questions by performing self-made rituals to summon Morgan Freemans. Hilarious. I know they've done this with other actors and actresses. Oh shit, lords! I'm gonna put this up here. I'm not gonna read it. Put this up here. Yeah. I was a teenage, young adult at the time as well, and was like, "Wait, what?" I would have to have a Samuel Jackson version of that game. Oh man, yeah, all the different hairstyles. Samuel Jackson actually admitted the fact that when he started getting little bit roles, most of those bit roles weren't written out, so he wanted to stand out. So that's why all the characters he played always had these like really strange and bizarre fashion and hairstyles that made him stick out. Yeah, because he was like, listen, if I got 5 lines to read, I'm a act the shit out of this. Yeah, the Hudson Hawk part would be the fun in the RPG. Yep, Hudson Hawk. The whole 9 yards, 10 yards, I think. Other movies like that. So anyway, guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for spending your valuable time here. I hope I'm able to return change to you for your tabletop science fiction role-playing endeavors. Guys, have a great one. I will see you for Total Recall tomorrow. Peace and tranquility.